Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are here with Azahara Munoz, who we're going to call Aza, and pretty excited to kick things off with our symplr Women's Initiative Network. We are presenting this session today on women leading in male-dominated industries. My name is Kristin Russel. I'm the head of marketing here at symplr. I just want to take you through a couple of things before I let Karissa Fuller, who's going to be asking all of the questions today, take it away with Aza. So before I do, let's move to the next slide really quickly. I do want to welcome everybody here today. We're going to run through a quick set of introductions, talk a little bit about the symplr Women's Initiative Network, and then really get into the guts, which is I'm going to like mosey on out of here, and I'm going to leave it to Karissa and Aza for the fun part. And of course, if you have questions at any point during this session today, please just pop them into the questions section. We'll also be available on the chat, and we would love to be able to kind of make sure we're connecting with you all and hearing any questions that you might have. So, introductions. Our featured speaker today is a woman who, to be honest, I am completely in awe. I mean, let's talk about her stats first, but then I'm going to get into some kind of interesting components here. She is one of the game's leading players. From a golf perspective, Azahara has been a fixture among the world's best since her LPGA career began back in 2010. All kinds of activity at the amateur level, including an NCAA Division I individual championship in 2008, team championship in 2009, and then started thinking about becoming a pro. We're going to want to hear all about this from you, Aza. She began her LPGA journey by winning Rookie of the Year in 2010, and since then has just been on a tear. She represented Spain in the Olympics in 2016 and 2020, played for Team Europe, and most recently has become a part of our Team symplr group, which we're pretty excited about. While we're excited about Team symplr, I'm pretty sure she's going to say one of her bigger accomplishments is being a mom. So with all of these things that I just mentioned, she's also a working mom, traveling between Spain and Florida. I don't even know how she does this. 4-month-old baby, a working husband. I mean, if anybody kind of gets the challenges of work-life balance, I feel like we've got the expert here. Joining Aza is Karissa Fuller. If we move to the next slide, Karissa is going to be asking, or sorry, I'll get into Karissa in just a moment. Let me tell you about the symplr Women's Network Initiative, and then we'll talk about Karissa. So this whole thing today is sponsored by the symplr Women's Network Initiative. The mission of sWIN is to provide opportunities for our employees to network together, to learn, to help one another for their professional growth. We're really committed to leveraging diversity and fostering inclusion, and helping our employees realize their full potential by building a workplace where women feel supported and empowered to be their authentic selves. And so it's with the symplr Women's Initiative Network that we are sponsoring today's activity. Next slide. Here you go. So today it's Aza. We've got Karissa Fuller. She's our Senior Vice President of Professional Services at symplr. Really kind of keeps the wheels on the bus and makes our customers happy. And your Chief Marketing Officer. But without further ado, let's get into our questions and our discussion.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kristin. And Aza, thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to have you. And I love two things, an athletic woman and a strong woman, and you're both of those. So I'm excited to hear your story today. I think we can start really at the beginning. So talking a little bit about your golf beginnings. How did you first get into golf? And at the time, was it really split between boys and girls? And what did that look like?
So the way I started playing golf was really kind of by chance. So no one in my family plays golf, but I was born, because my family is from a different city, but they moved to where I was born, because both of my parents are professors, so they were sent to my town to work there. So my two best friends, they are two brothers, and they were gonna start playing golf because their dad plays golf. So my parents just wanted me to be active. I used to play kind of everything. I've always been a little bit of a tomboyish. Like I really enjoy being with boys and being active. And in Spain, at least when I was growing up, girls didn't tend to do many sports. So I used to love playing soccer and tennis, and then I started playing golf, and I loved it from the beginning. So I don't know, I remember, I guess at the beginning I would only went once a week. It was on Saturdays. They had like these collective lessons for any kid in the town that wanted to come. It was kind of like to promote the golf course, I guess. So that's how we started. And then eventually I started going 3 times a week, and then 4 times a week, and then literally every day.
That's amazing. And I love that you saw that boys were doing it and you said, yeah, I can do that. I think that's awesome. What point, so I have to imagine as an athlete, at some point in that journey, you said to yourself, you know what, I might be really good at this. I might have a rare talent. Like at what point was that, and what did that look like in your journey?
So, I mean, I was only 7, so I don't remember it, to be honest, but I guess this is gonna sound cocky, but I don't mean it cocky. I guess I was much better than everybody else, because then they put me in advanced lessons really quick. That's why I started going, instead of once a week, I did 3 times a week, and then 4 times a week, and then ever since I played my first tournament, which was maybe a few months in, I remember winning. So I guess I got pretty good quite quick. And then also I got better, because then I would practice more, because I had more, I would go practice more than the other kids would only go once a week, but I just wanted to do it all the time. So I practiced more than everybody else.
Yeah, so it's almost like it was just innately in you, and you didn't even recognize at the time that you had this amazing talent. Sounds like you just loved the game so much, which is awesome. Now, did you ever doubt at any point that this could be a full-time career as you were continuing to play?
I get that question a lot. So I remember kind of when I started thinking about it, I was probably 13. I got into the Spanish national team, and everybody else was so much older. I won the Spanish amateur when I was 13, so I was really young. And I remember being pretty good, but I always knew I wanted to go to college. And it's not that I doubted that I could do it, but I think I was afraid to say that I wanted to be a golf pro, just in case I didn't make it. So I never, when people would ask me, I would say, yeah, I'm not sure, I'll see what would happen. But deep down in me, I wanted to do it. And it is for sure what I wanted to do. But it took me a little while until I finally said it out loud to everybody. Until I finally said, this is for sure what I want to do.
Wow. So probably actually saying that after feeling it inside for so many years was probably freeing for you, where you were finally like, this is it. This is what I want to do. That's cool. So since you were surrounded mostly by males and some females when you started going multiple times a week, who did you consider a role model throughout this? Who did you look at and say, I want to be just like that person?
So growing up, we didn't have the golf channel on TV or any of that, but so I could only I've always been a golf nerd, so I would get like magazines and try to research things. So I remember just seeing the world rankings, and I would only see names or pictures. So at that time, Annika Sorenstam and Seri Pak were number 1. They would flip between 1 and 2 in the world. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I want to be like them. But then eventually, Lorena Ochoa, she's from Mexico. She was number 1. She retired when she was only 28 or 29. She actually retired my rookie year. So I only got to play with her a few events. But I remember when I was in college, she was definitely the person I looked up to the most. Like, obviously not just number 1 in the world, but she's like super friendly. Every time I've been with her, she couldn't be any nicer, and obviously really good too. But her personality is kind of what drew me to her. So that's the serious one. When I was growing up, Severiano Ballesteros is a Spanish golfer. He passed away, unfortunately, but he put Spain in the map, and everybody kind of looked up to him, but I've never actually saw him play on TV or any of that. So it was kind of hard to relate for me because we didn't really have golf on TV.
Did you ever in your life have the opportunity to meet him at any given point? So in person? You did?
I did. So when I was 9, they had a golf tournament pretty close to where I'm from. So I got to go, I mean, I went to see him, but he was already definitely past his prime. He was just still playing just because he was who he was, but he wasn't that super great. But I remember being so excited to go see him.
Yeah, I would imagine somebody that you looked up to for so long. That would be amazing. Do you think there are challenges for you as a female golfer when compared to your male counterparts?
Well, now that I became a mom, that's the number one. It's so funny. I was in the gym the other day, and Dustin Johnson, he's
I think we're having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Arthur. Hold on us. Yeah, we're having a quick sound issue.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. All right, sorry. So I think we missed everything you said there.
Oh, sorry. So I think the number one is literally becoming a mother. You know, the fact that as an athlete to be a woman, like, I mean, I wouldn't change anything, and I love my son so much. But the year you're pregnant is really hard to compete. You know, you are getting bigger, and I played until I was 7.5 months pregnant because I had to finish the season. But obviously, I could only do what I could do. Like, you know, I had a belly, like I was getting tired, and I'm sure a lot of you guys know what's to be pregnant, so it's not ideal. So I was in the gym the other day. Dustin Johnson, he's one of the best in the world. He said, "How are you gonna have another one soon?" And I was like, "If I was a guy, I would." But for me, I pretty much lose 2 years of my career, you know, and I'm already almost 35, so I have to like kind of really be careful and plan things. So I would say that's number one. Number two, I guess, obviously guys make so much more money than we do, so that would be number two. But I just never like to complain about that because I'm very lucky that I can do a sport that I can make a living doing it. There is so many other athletes that are not so fortunate, so I'd never like getting into that because I'm very, very, very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super impressive playing until 7.5 months pregnant. I mean, I had 2 girls, and so I've been pregnant 2 times, and you know, I could barely like get up off the couch to go get an ice cream. So I think that's very impressive. So you are probably pretty in tune with your body as a professional athlete. And I'm just curious a little bit, you know, how do you eat? Do you eat super healthy? How often are you working out? Is that happening all the time? And what kind of rest do you take? Because I'm sure rest is a really important piece of it.
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky. Like, I guess genetically, I am thinner than most. I'm not thin in the sense of tiny, but I'm quite thin, but also muscular. But I don't work out super much. I normally do 3-4 times a week for maybe 15 minutes. I have a trainer that I go to, and then I'm supposed to do Peloton a couple times a week. But since I've had the baby, it's been very difficult. So maybe once a week I do a 30-minute Peloton. And I eat quite healthy. I'm not afraid of eating desserts, but I do. It's funny. I do eat a lot. Like, you'll be pretty impressed of the amount of food I can put away. But it is normally pretty healthy. But I always have a little bit of dessert, but just a little bit. I don't go super crazy, but I always do a little bit.
It sounds like, you'd be a good candidate for an eating contest with that, but we'll have to save that for potentially another event.
You see people's faces when they see my plate. I always say, don't judge me.
Yeah. And what about rest? Do you have a schedule where you say, I take this amount of time off no matter what?
So I'm sure you're gonna get to that later on, but I used to be pretty crazy. Like if I was tired, I didn't care. I would practice like crazy. I would run myself down to the ground. And I think that's probably one of the reasons maybe I got what I got. So ever since then, I'm pretty careful because if I push myself too hard, I can really, really get tired and things don't go very, very well. So I don't have a set amount. Normally, if I'm at home, I like to take Sundays off or things like that. But now what I do more is to kind of on a daily basis, like if I know I'm really tired, I might cut my practice a tiny bit short, just be more focused but not so crazy. Or a couple times, I don't do that very often, but if I've been really tired, especially I was practicing here during the summer and it's so hot, so I mean sweating so much, and obviously with a newborn, I remember a couple times texting the trainer, say, hey, I'm not gonna go to the gym today. So just kind of try to be smarter about, because sometimes you think, oh my God, I cannot miss a workout, but you go to that workout and then you might miss 2 later because you are so tired. So again, I normally work out 3-4 times a week. So those 3 afternoons, I try to take it easy. Obviously, I'm playing with my baby, but at least I'm not like in the gym sweating a lot. So I give my own body time to relax a little bit.
And in addition to rest, a topic we talk about in our symplr Women's Network quite a bit is self-care. Do you have other self-care practices other than rest and putting some good boundaries around things that you live by?
Yeah, I like to do, I meditate, so I like to do that in the mornings. I have this thing, I've been doing it now for a year and a bit. It pairs, it's like a brain training. So like your brain waves, kind of to calm your brain down, and it pairs with breathing. So I do that. I do my breathing so other than meditation, I do my breathing every day, maybe 10-15 minutes of this breathing it's like 6 breaths per minute, and you do like a rhythm. And then 2-3 times a week, I do this brain training. So I would say that's my self-care routine.
That's awesome. Meditation is something I always aspire to do. So I love to hear when people are doing meditation, and I'll have to hit you up on tips and tricks around meditation at a different time. So, congratulations on the birth of your son. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I know he's still a baby. I'm sure that's just the joy of your life. I happened to read that in 2019, the LPGA Tour really put a new maternity policy in place that allowed players to freeze their status for up to 2 years. You can focus on your pregnancy, focus on the baby and recovery. Just curious, what's been your experience there with that, and what are your thoughts on the policy that they put in place?
The policy obviously is, I mean, before we didn't have one, which for a women's tour we all said, even though some people don't even want to be moms, so they've already passed their times, but as a women tour, you should protect moms and make sure we can do this, keep playing golf after being a mom. So obviously it's great. The only problem with our policies is that the tour, I mean, the year is a year, but obviously it changes if you have a baby in January, February, or December. So what happened to me, I got pregnant too early in the year. So I had to play pregnant, because your maternity is when your child is born. So my child was born February 28th. So I had to play pregnant the entire season. The good thing is I kept my car, and now I had more time to return. So some moms, if they get pregnant whenever, and they have the child in November, for example, they don't play pregnant because that year doesn't count. is the year your child is born. But then if they have the option of keeping another year open, or they have to come back too soon. So at least for me, again, it didn't work out so well, so I had to play pregnant pretty much the entire year. But now it's been really nice because this year is my maternity, and I've had the chance of actually playing. They call them freebies, so you can actually play or not play. So I chose to play a few events just kind of to get things rolling and not go from tournament to tournament, had almost 2 years in between. But obviously I'm super grateful, because before I would have lost my car and I would have to start pretty much, start over and get my car again. So next year when I start playing in 2023, I have full status. I can play every event, and that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure. It sounds like it was something they really needed to change to support the female golfers. So that's really, really great. How is it traveling with a baby? So it's got to be tough to balance traveling with a baby and golfing. Tell us a little bit about that experience and journey.
So to be honest, for me, the most stressful, I'm still breastfeeding. So he's 8.5 months. And to me, the most stressful was the breastfeeding, because I couldn't figure out how to do things, because obviously playing golf is 5 hours plus warming up for probably an hour before. So it's challenging to last that long. I mean, you're all women, so I can feel comfortable talking about this. So now it's actually easier than before. When I first started at 6, he was 6 months when I first played my first tournament, and literally I would have to run. I mean, that was the hardest. Traveling with him is actually it's been pretty good. I touch wood. He's the easiest baby so far. He's amazing. Literally, I hit the jackpot with my baby. He's amazing. So obviously I needed help. So the first 2 events, my husband came with me. We have daycare on tour as well, but you still need someone to help you with everything. So he came to the first 2 events, and then my in-laws came to the 3rd event. My babysitter came to last week when I played in Tampa. So with their help, it's been pretty good, and daycare. So in the mornings they get him ready when I'm playing maybe, and then they take him to daycare, and he can play with all the other kids. And so far it's been great, but I haven't made super long trips. Like on Monday I'm supposed to fly to Spain on my own with the baby, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna do this? So if this webinar was next week, I don't know what I would say, but so far it's been really, really good.
That's awesome. Did you, when you had the baby, and then I assume you had to take a little bit of time at least off golfing, were you missing it? Were you really kind of hoping to be back, or were you just more engulfed in your new son?
It sounds terrible, but I didn't miss it. I've always really wanted to be a mom, and as an athlete, it's really hard to plan when that will happen, if that will happen. So when it happened, and I knew I was gonna have that much time off, I said, I was determined to enjoy it as much as I could. My parents came over from Spain, and they were with me for 3 months, so that helped so much too. And I don't know, I just cherished that time as much as I could. And then once I start playing, I had to do a C-section, so I didn't do anything for 6-7 weeks. And then when I start practicing, I had 4 months until my first tournament. Oh, that was the plan if everything went good. That's as early as I would have played. Then I was like, kind of not missing it, but it's hard to practice when you have so much time until your next tournament. So once the first tournament came about, I was like, oh, I'm excited to go, because I've been practicing I'm not used to practicing for so long without a tournament. But no, it was actually really nice to be home and just being with the baby and not rush things. I don't know if I'm going to be a mom again, so I just didn't want to rush anything. So it was very nice and enjoyable being home.
Oh, that's beautiful. And did you have any of your female golfer friends that are also mothers give you any tips, tricks? Did anyone give you any advice that you were like, oh, that was the best advice. Thank you so much for giving me that.
So my best friend actually has a 3-year-old now. So I remember when I first was gonna go to the tournament, I was asking her all this, because it's true, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. But then actually the best advice was from, because not many moms at all had breastfed. There was one mom that had. So it's so funny, like she was lovely, because I never even talked to her that much before. And then my best friend said, oh, she did it, so ask her all the questions. And she was actually so helpful, telling me all the tips and how to do it and how to store the milk and how much I should take to the tournament. So she was actually the most helpful of all of them.
That's awesome. How it's interesting how motherhood can bring two people who weren't connected to connect. Like, I love that. I love that.
For sure.
So can you tell me about the favorite course you've ever played? And in addition to the favorite course, just the best memory you've had on a golf course?
So my favorite course is hard. There are a few, but I think I'll have to say Oakmont. We played it's a course in Pennsylvania. It was the US Open that I've played there, but the men have played there quite a few times as well. And it's super challenging and great. And I had a good tournament, so I guess I'm a bit biased, but that's probably the best golf course. And my best memory, I'll have to say Solheim Cup is a match between Europe and America. So you might all hate me, but obviously I represent Europe. And in 2011 was my first one ever. And the last 3 matches, we were all losing and we all had to win the cup. And in the last 3 holes, we all turned around our matches and won, the 3 of us. So I was playing last, and it's the most fun I've ever had when I got to the 18th green and we already won and everybody went bananas. So that's my all-time favorite moment.
That sounds like there's a lot of energy and celebration. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we have some golfers in the audience today, some potential golfers. What advice do you have for a new golfer, or even somebody just looking to improve their game?
Just to spend a few hours on the range. I have so many people ask me the same questions, but they play golf once a month and they never go to the range. They never get a lesson. They never do any of that. So golf is such a hard sport and it's so hard to improve. So my main thing is get a lesson, get even a few lessons, 10 lessons. Get to practice a little bit on the range and then go play, but don't just play and expect to get better like that, because it's just not going to happen. So, a little bit of practice every week, maybe even if it's just 30 minutes.
That's great advice. I mean, from somebody who was 7 years old practicing multiple times a week, I think that's great advice. I have a couple of more questions, and then if it's okay, we're going to open it up to the audience and get some questions there. I'm curious about you coming to the United States. You just mentioned, you represent Europe in the tournament there. How did you view the United States before coming and then right after coming? And then when did you decide to play collegiate golf at ASU?
So the reason I came to America, so I always knew I wanted to go to college. Like, education's always been, I said before, both of my parents are professors. So I never doubted that I was going to go to college. That was for sure happening. But I also knew I wanted to play golf. And in Spain, if you go to college, it's a full-time job. Like, it's really, really hard. They don't let you miss classes. If you tell them you're going to a tournament, they're like, well, sorry, type of thing. Like, and here in America is the opposite. You play for the team and they make it easier on you. It doesn't mean you don't study, but if you have to go to a tournament, they accommodate exams, they do all these things. So when I was 13, I got into the Spanish national team. And the older girls, which were already 21, 22, they actually were in college in America. They were the first generation that came to college. So I remember thinking, well, I remember the first tournament I went to that they came back from the summer, and they had matching golf bags, and they had the outfits and the hats, and they spoke English with their boyfriends on the phone. And I was like, oh my God, I am going to America. Like, I remember that tournament, I knew I was coming to America. So I was only 13. I mean, it's quite 5 years to go before going to college, but I never thought, oh, I'll go to university in Madrid, or I knew I was coming to America. So then the reason I came to Arizona State, I played a junior tournament in Scottsdale when I was a sophomore in high school, and I just loved it. I went by the university, and everything in America is so big. That's how we view America. Everything is big. So I remember thinking, oh my God, like, look at the football stadium. And I mean, I was just like, oh my goodness. I didn't even take a college visit. I just was like, I don't care how everything else is, Arizona State is the best. So that was it. I wanted to go to Arizona State. So when I got offered a scholarship, I didn't even come visit. I said, yeah, I'm coming.
That's awesome. You're right. Everything in America is big, and Arizona is a great place to live year round to play golf for sure. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
So,
it was warm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. So I'm going to ask some questions from the audience, if that's okay. This first question that came in, I think is super interesting. What's the best advice you've ever gotten from a caddy?
From a caddy?
From a caddy, yeah.
I don't even know. Let me think. That's a very good one. Put me on the spot. Oh my God. I can't even think of it right now.
We can come back to that one if you'd like.
Yes, let me think on that one.
Yeah.
See if I can. Otherwise, I'm just gonna make up an answer. I want it to be, yeah.
Yeah. This one's interesting. The sisterhood of moms is powerful. You talked about how other players were helpful. Have you found other supporters? For example, did you find that fan support changed since you become a parent?
Yes, like, I can't even tell you. Obviously, I don't share much on social media, but I've put my son out there. So I can't even tell you, like, last week in Tampa, there was a couple moms from other players that I played with actually a year ago, and that was my last tournament a year ago before having my child. And even people from the crowd, like, literally, they just asked me about Lucas. It's like, Lucas is my son. So many people show me pictures, and you need to post more about Lucas, and how is everything going? And so yeah, it's pretty impressive how you share something now with so many people, and everybody obviously tells you that it's the best thing ever, and it is. So it's incredible to be able to share that with so many people in the world. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I think when you have a child, and because when I knew that I was going to moderate this, the first thing I did was look you up and look your background up, and I came to the pictures of you and your son, and I was like, oh, how cute he is and how exciting. So I think people always have such a soft spot, right, for kids.
Yeah.
So Julia Goebel said she loved watching you on Golf Channel a few years ago. You were terrific. And Julia, I believe, is a pretty avid golfer as well. She's curious, what events or tournaments are you excited about in 2023?
What, sorry?
What events or tournaments are you excited about in 2023?
So 2023 is Solheim Cup year again, and it's actually in Spain. So Solheim Cup is my all-time favorite tournament. It's amazing. So, and it is in my hometown. So I'm really, really hoping, obviously I'm not gonna be able to qualify through rankings just because I didn't play. The way the points work is two-year system, and I've missed a whole year. But hopefully I can play well enough where I'll be a captain's pick. But if I'm in that tournament, I'll be a very happy camper. So that's one. And then the US Open is at Pebble Beach this year. So I really, really want to be there as well.
Well, we'll certainly be rooting you on along the way for sure to get there. Have you ever had a slice? If so, how do you correct it?
Oh, yeah, I've had a slice. I hit a draw, so it's the opposite. That's my natural shot. But how do you correct it? So, do I get very technical here? I don't know the level of. I'll go.
I think you can go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So then, normally when people hit a slice, because the ball goes to the right, people start doing that. They start aiming more left, so the slice only gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So to correct a slice is almost the opposite. You actually have to aim to the right and try to hit it to the left. So it's contradictory, but that's how you correct a slice.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for that tip. What advice would you give to a father who wants to support their daughters as they are finding their way? Tough love versus nurture, or a little bit of both?
I would go more, if you have to choose one, I'll go nurture. I don't think tough love. I've never had tough love on me, so I would say nurture, but a little bit of both. I remember, you know, my dad doesn't even play golf or anything, but he's always been so supportive, both of my parents, of me playing golf. And I remember when I was like 12, 13, I wanted to go out with friends, and maybe I would skip a couple practices. And I remember my dad saying, "Are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure you don't want to," you know, kind of like try to guide me, but not. He'll never make me go to the golf course. He'll just say, "You have a tournament in a couple of weeks. You think that's smart that you are going out, or that you are going with friends and not practicing, or I don't know, like you wanna." When I was getting older and older, if I got down on myself or something, the way to support me would be like kind of putting the goals that he knew I wanted to do, like, you're going to college. Do you think being that way to yourself is helpful? Or so I think, I don't know, I also don't think you can just let your kid do whatever they want in sports, because they're going to go through times where they are going to want to do the easy thing or the fun thing, and you know, we have to give up so much. I don't want to call it sacrifice, because I've always loved playing golf so much, so I didn't consider it a sacrifice. But I've missed so many birthday parties, so many everything. I've missed so much. So, you know, I also feel like in order to keep a child kind of like aligned with their goals, you have to push them a bit or guide them like that. Otherwise, I feel like you're just going to take the easy road and say, "Listen, I'm going out with my friends. It's more fun." So, so a little bit of both, but more nurture. I think you have to be loving.
Yeah, that's great advice. Do you think that you're going to encourage your son to play golf, or will you have him try lots of different sports?
I think I love to make him try lots of different sports. To be honest, when I grew up, it's kind of like everybody wanted to do one sport and do a lot of it. Now, actually, even the theory is that the more sports kids play, the better, because they develop all different things. You know, as a golfer, you're just a golfer, or as a tennis player, you're just a tennis player. But if you do all different sports, you develop different things that eventually are going to help you become a better athlete, and then you can choose one sport and you already have all those things developed. So I love sports myself, so I think, I mean, he might be an artist and wants nothing to do with sports, but if he wants to do sports, I'll try for him as many as he wants. And then obviously I love if he plays golf, and I'll encourage him to do that and make sure it's a fun, because golf is, you see, I love playing golf because I went with so many kids and it was really fun for me to do it. But golf can be boring, you know, if you go with your mom and everybody has to be quiet, and for kids it's not super fun. So I'll make sure I'll try to make it fun, and if he likes it, I'll obviously be very happy. but I'll see what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's like so many things in life, right? Who you're doing them with can sometimes create the experience.
Yeah.
One audience member says, love Oakmont, got to play a couple times. Curious how you find the motivation to practice when you just want to spend time with your son.
So because I don't have much time now, again, I'm breastfeeding, so I only have so many hours. It's actually nice. I go practice and I have to be very focused and very precise and not waste any time, and I'll just come back home to my son. So it's worked out perfectly, to be honest, because also you know, I know a lot of my friends are only moms and not working, and they're always complaining, oh, I'm always with my son, and you know, I don't do anything but being with my son. I actually feel like the fact that I go practice for 3-4 hours a day, I've never felt that. So maybe it's because I get away every day for a little bit, then I'm super happy to come back home to him. So maybe it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, you get a little bit of space for yourself, and then you get to be the great mom that you are. So if you were not playing golf, I mean, you'd mentioned college was always important. Both of your parents are professors. So if you, for some reason, were not playing golf, what other profession would you choose?
So I never thought of anything else since I was probably 13, 14. I just wanted to play golf. Before that, I remember saying that I wanted to be a professor because my grandpa was a professor, my auntie, my uncle, my parents. So I always, I guess, wanted to be like my parents and them. So I always used to say I wanted to be a professor before.
So, I mean, I guess that could be in the cards at some point, right? Later on, potentially. Awesome. So just lastly here, what other advice would you share with this group around either being a top athlete and then also being a top athlete in a male dominated sport?
I mean, I don't know if I have much advice. I think the attitude I take because a lot of people always talk about that, how the world is a male dominated place, and I feel like because of that, a lot of women have a chip on their shoulders. You know, we're always thinking kind of like the world is against that type of thing, and that's why I never like thinking about it like that. You know, even in golf, I remember being the only girl and 59 boys. We were 60 of us. You know, I think we all bring to the table whatever we bring to the table, and I think women are amazing. So I just think like we just have to be confident, and even if you're the only woman and 10 other men, that doesn't mean you're less or they hate you or anything, you know. So you just again, we're different. I also don't like comparing, and I don't think we're the same. I think, especially now, I'm a mom, and so many of you are moms. You know, when people say it has to be 50-50, well, I don't know, because we're different. You know, women are women and men are men. I also, you know, if a light bulb breaks in my house, I am not touching that thing. My husband is gonna do it. That's how we do it in my house. You know, I have my chores, he has his. So I feel it's the same way at work. But I think the main thing I would advise is to definitely don't think less just because you're a woman, or even don't even think you're different. You know, I think we're different, but at the same time the same. And not just because you're a woman, they're gonna even. I almost think like a lot of times you are already thinking, oh, I'm a woman, they're gonna do this against me, or you know, no, like be confident, and you're amazing just as they are.
I love that perspective. I think that's somewhat of a refreshing perspective on things, and clearly you have so much awesome confidence, and I love that. That's really great.
So before you say that, just in case, because a lot, like there is so many golf business done on the golf course. I mean, so many business done on the golf course. So I play a lot of pro-ams with amateurs. And when I play with women, they always say, oh, I'm so embarrassed because, you know, I'm so bad. And I'm like, you think the men I play with are good? They're terrible. But men never feel like that. And women feel embarrassed to play golf. So I'm like, why is that? You know, it's almost like unless we are amazing at something, we're always like a bit embarrassed. I'm like, no, men are terrible and they don't care. Why do we care?
Yeah, I think it comes back to a topic that comes up a lot between men and women called imposter syndrome. And women often think they're just not good enough and they get in their heads. While men often think they're very good at everything, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's a difference of how people think. So that's is that your little guy there?
He just woke up from the nap.
He's ready to go.
He's ready to rock.
Yeah. Well, Asa, we wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of symplr for joining us today, and then we'll be really keeping an eye on you throughout 2023. Super excited to see what you're gonna do, and we wish you the very best in your golf game, and then also with your family. So thank you so much for participating today and letting us learn a little bit more about you.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be part of the team.
Thank you. And we also want to thank Kristin. Kristin, thank you to you and your team for organizing this for us. As you all know, we're symplr, better operations, better outcomes. And please follow all of our PGA Tour, our team symplr on Instagram and root them on, as we will be on the sidelines. So thank you. Have a great day, everyone.